Fire and brimstone, thunder and lightning is coming out of the mouth, or at least the pen of one Karen Lerman Block, one of those self-anointed, self-appointed fighters against Jew hatred and anti-Semitism. And she has a syndicated column that's published in a couple smaller publications. I forget where I've seen it. Someone shared it on Facebook, Israel Times, Jewish News, something to that effect. And she goes on a tirade against all of the people who dared in their audacity and their chutzpah not to condemn Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens strongly enough, because they themselves didn't stand up against Kanye West. And of course, obviously, Kanye West comments are the most horrific attack on Jews and anti-Semitic and so on. And to be truth be told, she definitely has a point with Tucker and Owens. Owens was kind of being dickish about it. Tucker usually does not interfere with his interviewees, so it was more in character. But what's more important is that Lerman Block is silent on a slew of other things that are a million times worse than Kanye. Case in point, the first thing, just a couple weeks after the Kanye incident, Chapelle comes out. And Chapelle comes out, and under the guise of comedy, all these comedians, first of all, they're by far overrated. Even the classic ones, even George Carlin, and then what the other guy's name, Dangerfield. Anyway, doesn't matter. But it's certainly the modern ones, Bill Burr, and of course Chapelle himself, and not Jim Cramer, whatever. Anyway, so Dave Chapelle comes out and he gives a big introduction, big preface. Hey guys, I am the proper color pigmentation. I am the proper party affiliation. I never went over to Trump, so you cannot criticize me. You cannot cancel me. And he goes on and not only reiterates, but emphasizes and enhances everything that Kanye West said, just under the guise and the cloak of comedy, which it wasn't. It was 100% serious. He meant it. And what he really said under code words and covered intention is that, yeah, Kanye is right, but Kanye was only used as an extension or a synonym for Trump. But when I say it, it's okay, and no one's gonna stand on me, and that's exactly happened. No one, including our good old Mrs. Lerman Block, didn't bother to criticize Chapelle with a single word. She goes on to say in her article, burning with passion and fire, that there is a rise in violence against Jews going on. Only thing is, she didn't bother analyzing that kind of violence against Jews that's going on too much. Last I checked, that raging violence against Jews is not happening in Whitefish, Montana, and in Cody, Wyoming, and in American Falls, Idaho, and in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and somewhere in the backwoods of Alabama, which is the bastion and the stronghold of the great white supremacist KKK, violent, radicalized Republican, white supremacist, white male, cisgender male, blah, blah, blah. The violence is happening mostly in New York City and mostly in northern New Jersey. Heavily Democratic areas. Even during Trump's time, the time of the Trump administration, which was never too popular there, it was never a Trump stronghold. And yet that is where the true spike in violence is happening. New York City and northern New Jersey. Not a word. Somehow Mrs. Lerman Block does not want to put 2 and 2 together, not even 1 and 1. And I don't know if she realized, but Trump hasn't been in the White House for a couple of years now. But of course, it's all Trump's fault, without explicitly saying so. So let's think a little bit. The vast majority, actually not the vast majority, all of the violence, all of the rise in anti-Semitic crimes is being perpetrated by people who are covered in heavily pigmented skin. And as our duly elected president, His Eminence Joe Biden told us, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black. So there you go. It's her voter base. It comes from the Democrat, from the left wing. They're foot soldiers, the black public. That's all of the crimes committed against Jews are being committed by this demographic. And of course, somehow this doesn't seem odd or strange to her. And of course, I'm sure it has nothing to do with Kathy Hochul's recent legislation, very, very tightly curtailing any kind of ownership and carrying firearms, especially in houses of worship. The New York State Jewish Gun Club has joined with several other pro-gun and pro-freedom organizations and is suing Hochul. But there's lawsuits going back and forth, and as soon as the Supreme Court comes striking down one of Hochul's illegal and unconstitutional regulations, she comes up with something else. Long and the short of the story is that Kathy Hochul refuses to let Jews defend themselves. And again, a free pass from Karen Lehman Block and her ilk, people who are just like her. So the rise in violence is coming from the black public, and not a word of condemnation from all of these publications. In fact, in December 2019, there was a terrorist attack in Jersey City, terrorist attack on a Jewish grocery store that had a Jewish elementary grade school above it on the second floor. Of course, the perpetrators were also heavily pigmented people with the right party affiliation, and as soon as it happened, it barely even made the national headlines. There was a little bit in the New Jersey headlines, the New Jersey paper. The Star Ledger, in so many words, justified the attack. The Star Ledger said that those evil Jews, those evil Hasidic, are coming and buying away houses from the blacks, because again, the blacks own the goddamn place, right? and therefore they deserve to be attacked. And the entire New Jersey legislature went with them. Cory Booker, the governor of New Jersey, the mayor of Newark. In fact, one of the members of I think the Newark Board of Ed made an outright anti-Semitic comment. She said that the Jews deserve to be blown up and shot. Only by the grace of God, by the way, there was no bigger consequences. 2 people, I think 5 people were totally murdered in total. The owner of the grocery, one of her employees, a customer, and 2 cops. And of course, then on top of it, the terrorists themselves. And again, no vast, wide-spanning investigation into who did it and how they did it and why they did it. How did they acquire so many weapons and so many C4 explosives? I'm sure that the good Democrats, Cory Booker, are going to say that it's because of the evil Republicans' deregulation of gun rights. Because now you're going to ShopRite, and right next to the organic clover honey and wildflower honey, you can put in your shopping cart C4 bricks, and that's what these poor oppressed minority freedom fighters did, and they just put the C4 bricks in their shopping cart by mistake. The evil white people, the white supremacists set them up. The evil Jews with big nose set them up and made them do it. I'm only exaggerating a little bit. And if you consider Chapelle a comedian, then consider this comedy as well, please. All right, before you start coming with all your hate and your attack. And same thing happened in the Pittsburgh attack, right? 11 people were murdered because they were Jewish, and a day or 2 later, reporters asked the rabbi of that synagogue, a rabbi whom we do not have to suspect of being a right-wing supremacist and an evil JDL right-wing Jew. I'm almost convinced that this is a reform synagogue that officiates homosexual marriages and whatnot, completely in contradiction with Judaism, but whatever. So point is that we don't need to suspect the rabbi of being extremely right-wing. All he said is that Donald Trump is the president and he's welcome to come here to give his condolences to the families of the victims. That's all he said. And the millisecond these words left his mouth, the entire story was wiped off from the headlines. No more. Again, the Democrats could not and did not and would not milk the story. Obviously, the perpetrator could not be linked to Donald Trump and to any kind of right-wing extremist group by any stretch of the word. In practical terms, this means that 99% he was a registered Democrat, or at least a very, very heavily sympathizing with the Democrats. Otherwise, you would have never stopped hearing from it till this very day. They would have found some sort of link with Trump and with Republicans and with right-wing extremist, racist, KKK, blah blah blah, and they would have just not taken it off of the headlines until they're able to orchestrate another terrorist attack. And by the way, the attack in Jersey City was done to punish the Hasidic public for voting for Trump and for siding with Trump. The Hasidic public was fairly vocal in the support for Trump. There was an extremely high voting rate for Trump, and Hochul and her accomplices, both from New York and New Jersey, came and explained to them that in return for their vote, they're going to protect them from any other terrorist attacks like in Jersey City. In so many words, these are code words, because again, the left always speaks in code words. The left never is never straightforward with their intentions. They always talk like the Wannsee conference. They don't say what they really mean. For example, when they say oh, safety regulation for the train industry right now with all of these derailments going on, which had nothing to do with safety and with brakes. But anyway, what they really mean, that they wanted to extort the train companies, and the Republicans wanted to cut them a little bit of slack. So now all of the derailments have to be blamed on Republicans. So that's how they always operate. But again, we already know this. So back to our story. In so many, the intent of the Jersey City was to intimidate the Hasidic to stop voting for Trump and to get Hochul in, and lo and behold, she did get it. There were three prominent rabbis who, in the 2016 election, said nothing or quietly told their constituents to vote for Trump, or at least were on board with it. And they told them that in 2020, if they don't want more terrorist attacks, they better vote for you know who, for the correct candidate, not the evil candidate. And it's always like this. So Lehman Block goes on and say that, oh, anybody who didn't condemn Tucker and Owens strongly enough is being partisan, but she herself is obviously not partisan, because she, back in the day, she did condemn the Obama administration. You know, the Obama administration. God forbid they would mention Obama by name, because of their close ties to Farrakhan. This is so insidious. This is so disgusting. This is so dishonest. You're coming to me with something that happened, 8-10 years ago? And all the while, Obama's inner cabinet was chock full of neo-Nazis. You had Valerie Jarrett, you had Loretta Lynch, you had Chuck Hagel, you had Samantha Powers, and so on and so on. They robbed $400 million of the American public, put it in cash on a pallet, parachuted it to the Ayatollahs in Iran with the almost explicit intent, of course, as usual. Again, the left is talking like the Wannsee conference, so they don't reveal their true intentions. But let's be honest with you, the true intention was developing a nuke to throw on Israel, and not a word of condemnation. So now you're taking credit for criticizing, when this was happening, the Obama administration with the ties with Farrakhan. Do me a favor, you should have criticized Obama for stuffing an inner cabinet chock full of neo-Nazis and for purposely enticing and inciting Iran to develop a nuke to throw on Israel. But now you claim credit because you made a tepid little, barely audible criticism for their close ties with Louis Farrakhan. I didn't hear you say anything at Aretha Franklin's funeral when when Obama and Farrakhan had a deep smooch, a deep tongue down smooch. Somehow that didn't bother you. Oh, but Tucker and Owens, that's the big problem, right? Speaking of your beloved Democrat Party, this is the party which still has characters like Al Sharpton in good standing, even if not official card-carrying members, but quasi-practical members of the Democrat Party. Al Sharpton is still a positive and prominent figure in Democrat politics. This is the same Al Sharpton who caused and orchestrated and incited the murder of Yankel Rosenbaum, and of course having close ties to the New York State legislature, made sure that the murderer gets off the hook. Just like the murder of Mayor Kahane got off the hook. In 5 minutes, boom. Democrat judge, Democrat prosecutor, Democrat jury. Oh, we didn't see the finger that pulled the trigger, so we know who did it. We know that they committed the murder, but we weren't able to see the fingerprint on the trigger under a microscope. Right? No problem at all here. Now, nothing to see here. That's all Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens' fault, right? I'm pretty sure. It's just amazing. The very same Democrat Party that did all of this. He got off the hook easier than O.J. Simpson. Okay, for one reason and one reason only, that Meir Kahane was an upstanding and proud Jew who wanted to do the right thing and who was standing up for truth. And they smeared him as a hateful terrorist, blah blah blah, racist, whatnot. He didn't have a racist bone in him. He simply wanted peace and good understanding between Jews and Arabs. So that's where you have it. Again, the same Democrat Party that committed all of these crimes, the same Democrat Party whose patron saint to this day is FDR. That's right, the same FDR who during World War II, during the perpetration of the Holocaust, was dealing with the Nazis. He had business deals out. He had 3 business buddies go to Hitler in 1939, and they were going back and forth between the States and Germany almost till the end of the war. FDR knew about the Holocaust while it was happening, and not only did he block information about it, but he actively blocked all kinds of rescue efforts. That's right, FDR knew about the death camps as early as 1940. The Vital Pilecki report was out. There was another report that went out and got to the British government and the Polish government in exile, and they did get it to the Allies. So the States knew, FDR knew, the New York Times knew, and they did all they could to thwart and to obfuscate and to obstruct any and all rescue efforts. But again, let's gloss over it. Let's attack Tucker Carlson, because that happened a long time ago and it doesn't matter. Watch my video about what's his name, Ken Burns' propaganda movie commercializing the Holocaust and now exonerating FDR from everything. But let's just leave it at this. So you support the Democrat Party, which is for all practical purposes the neo-Nazi party of the 21st century, or at least is guilty. You know what? If you don't want to admit this, as people of your ilk don't want to admit it, is at least guilty of all these crimes that I just enumerated. Further on in her article, he's a friend of mine jogging. And she goes in her article and she goes, she demands that everybody stand up for her in solidarity, and how dare they, and anybody who's quiet on this is being complicit in anti-Semitism, blah blah blah. So you demand that everybody stand up for your cause. You demand that everybody stand up with disregard any kind of partisan lines and without partisanship, stand up for you and help you and blah 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 and blah 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 in solidarity, and so on and so forth. Every code word on the book that you threw there. So let me ask you this. When's the last time that you stood up in solidarity with people who are being mistreated? When is the last time when you stood up with minorities who are being unfairly treated? When is the last time I heard you stand up for people falsely imprisoned or with trumped up charges on the January 6th insurrection and the January 6th terrorist attack? There are people languishing in prison till this day who had never had their day in court, who are being held on trumped up charges like trespassing or some sort of destruction of property because they maybe unintentionally broke a window pane. They were in the wrong place in the wrong time. Where is this? What is your activism? What is it? What's going on? You don't have to stand up for anybody else, but you demand that everybody stand up for your cause. What the heck? Who the hell are you to demand this? Governments have been abusing their power for centuries, and this is a clear and obvious abuse of power. It might not go as far and as deep and as evil and violent and widespread as the Nazi Party, but on a small scale, that's a similar it's a similar situation. It's a government abusing its power to make a political statement. Whoever was there on January 6th will be and can be punished and imprisoned for inordinate amount of time. Did you stand up for them? No, but you demanded everybody stand up for you and condemn Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen because what they didn't say. I mean, a little bit decency here, no? A little bit of even-handedness wouldn't hurt you a little bit. You go ahead and you curse out everybody who dares just sit on the sidelines, which again, it's a valid criticism if taken on its own and isolated, but we don't live in an isolated world. You want everybody to stand up for you, then you stand up for truth. And you do the right thing. When I hear you stand up for January 6th, when I hear you condemn the Democrat Party, the party of Ilhan Omar, the party of Rashida the neo-Nazi Tlaib, the party of Ayanna the neo-Nazi Presley, and so on and so forth, the party of Strom Thurmond, when I hear you condemn them, when I hear you stand up against these ghouls, these thugs, when I hear you stand up against people like Samantha Powers, when I hear you stand up for academic freedom on campus. You know, on campus, Jewish students are being attacked on a daily basis. There was a big case in Ohio University where 4 Jewish students were falsely accused of, again, some sort of fuzzy, made-up, trumped-up charges, obfuscating the peace or whatever, disorderly conduct, and they were arrested and threatened with prison and fines. And again, only when the some Jewish organizations made a lot of noise, again, inaudible noise, because CNN and the New York Times, of course, would not help them, but only private media and small media, and they pressurized the dean of the university, a neo-Nazi who has not been doxxed. He's probably still has his tenure or whatever, his job in the university, unless he's been promoted already by the Biden administration. Nothing happened to them. The four blue shirt, the four order following blue shirt pigs who arrested them illegally, no consequence, no doxing, no losing their job, right? No stand up, don't shoot, whatever, hands up, don't shoot, nothing of that sort, right, Mrs. Lehman? So all this is fine and dandy with you, but you demand that everybody stand up for your cause. So here we are. That's oh, wait a minute, while we're talking about Kanye West, I wanted to address another issue, kind of a side issue, but still it's good to address it. Again, this is my interpretation, so I didn't see, this is a conspiracy theory that I'm just pulling out of my butt, but just from observing the sequence of events, this is my take on the whole story. The first one to not necessarily affiliate herself, but to accept or not to vocally, openly reject Trump and his administration was his wife, Kardashian. Again, an absolutely horrific and disgusting testimony on the state of our society. Someone can just make a sex tape and pretend, leak it, and become a celebrity. She's now part of the high society in the United States. She's a celebrity. And Kanye also, to be honest with you, I kind of felt since the beginning, even though I also felt some positive feelings, I don't know how you call it, but empathy, whatever, to Kanye. I never liked the guy. I don't like rap. Rap is not music. It was never meant to be music. Rap is simply a socio-political tool to keep the black public segregated and keep them belonging to the Democrat Party, you know, to prevent them from becoming a part of society at large and joining society, because then of course they would disappear via assimilation. So the left has to do anything and everything in its power to to keep the black public ignorant, violent, segregated, and dependent on them. Of course, I mean this is an established fact. We all know this. Nothing new about this. But again, rap so-called music is part of this strategy to give them a forged identity. You know, blacks today are not allowed, again, by the standards of the black public. Blacks are not allowed to listen to any other music. Take any black who was born from the 70s and on, early 70s and on, and ask them if they know any kind of music. They will only know rap. That's the only thing they will know. They will know nothing about blues, jazz, rock, heavy metal, country, folk, classical music, you name it. Only rap. Well, you tell me that there's something in black people's skin that makes them listen to rap or make the stupid accent that they normally have. And when they go in the corporate world, all of a sudden they lose the accent. But anyway, so back to Kardashian. So she was the first one who went to some sort of ceremony where they signed some legislation. So she went next to Trump. Again, she didn't vocally offer support, but that, of course, that ignited the ire and the hatred and the anger of the left at large, the leftist establishment. And also, she was craving for the longest time of going on the front cover of some very coveted fashion magazine or whatever it was, something of the sort. And of course, in the meantime, Kanye came out in favor of Trump, and of course the entire Republican crowd, let's just say, or the right-wing public accepted him immediately. Again, the right-wing, racist, supremacist, evil KKK, neo-Nazi, Republican, right-wingers accepted him with both arms open. And I admit, I'm also sort of enjoyed the show. Again, I didn't like him still as an individual, as a person, and I still didn't like his so-called art, but I figured that it's cool. I didn't think that it's not genuine, but now in retrospect, I think that he was making up an act. He wasn't really so pro-Trump as he made it sound, and it was for gain. So to gain notoriety and to stand out from the crowd. By the way, one of the most disingenuous and dishonest aspects that I observed at the flurry of condemning Kanye, you know, when the whole mainstream media, the New York Times and CNN, all of a sudden started to condemn Kanye, right? They care about anti-Semitism. These people who, on a daily basis, they side with murderers, with terrorists, with the most radical, extremist left-wingers who are anti-Semites. All of the examples that I cited in the beginning, all of a sudden they care about Kanye's anti-Semitism. Who are we kidding here? Do we think that the other rappers don't think the same thing as Kanye? Are you kidding me? You think that ZJ or whatever his name and what is it, 60 cents or 50 cents and the Drake and Mr. T and Ice-T and Ice Cube and Ice Cream and all of these guys. I know that one of them is Jewish, but I'm sure, I don't know if 50 cents or one of these guys is actually Jewish, not a Hebrew. Not the Hebrew Israelite, but all the others, I can guarantee you that they're at least as anti-Semites as Kanye. Simply, again, statistically, the black public is the single most anti-Semitic demographic in the States, and so it follows that these guys are also like him. They just keep shut up and they keep the millions. And Kanye made the mistake of siding with Trump, so he's being punished for it. But he's not being punished because of anti-Semitism. So, short story long, I'm sure that Kardashian was made to understand, just like in the incinerator. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch Jerzy Mantel's movie The Incinerator, late 60s. Great, true cinema. This is not just American BS, Hollywood movie. Even Stanley Kubrick, all these guys, they're overrated. Stanley Kubrick has no great movies. He has great scenes, but no great movies. No great movie ever came out of Hollywood. But again, I'm not into cinema or anything like this. So watch that movie. In the same vein, they made Kardashian understand that there is a little problem here. She has a problematic husband, and if she really wants to be on the front cover of that coveted fashion magazine, and again, like I said, and like I always repeated my mantra, because I would like more people to be aware of this and conscious of this, that the left does not have to physically and proper conspire. They don't have to sit down and draft a plan. They instinctively know what to do, just like animals who have a hive mind, a hive mentality. A lot of bees or ants can join together to build a bridge, to cross, to get somewhere, to kill a tree, and so on and so forth. So the parasitic mind is the left-winger's mind. So they don't have to actually vocalize and verbalize their plans. They just made her understand that, hey, you got a little problematic husband here, but if the problematic husband disappears, you can get on the front page of the magazine. And that's exactly what happened. She dumped Kanye, they got divorced, she got on the front cover of the magazine. And my feeling is that Kanye is coming back. He's gonna apologize. He's gonna say that he didn't mean it. He said that the Republicans made him say it. Tucker made him say it. Is the evil right-wing Nazi KKK right-winger, white extremist, white supremacist made him do it, and they brainwashed him and propagandized him. But now he's sorry. He's not gonna do it again. And his best friend are Jewish, and he's gonna bang a white Jewish girl. What do you think they call it? Gangbanger, right? And it's gonna go. He's gonna be again Chapelle's best friend, and they're gonna bring him back into the fold, and they're gonna forget the whole thing. And that's all I had for you today. And so until the next time, have a good sin.